This is Let's Talk Business with your hosts, Marc Ebinger and Heather Boehme. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, the show that talks entrepreneurship with some of the best businesses in the San Antonio area. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk with Johnston, a certified public accountant with Lowrey, Powell, Stevens, and Mangum right here in the San Antonio area. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I know this is your first time on a podcast. I'm excited that you're here. Good family man, and our CPA, no joke. And my wife absolutely loves the work that you do. So
Thank you.
Excited to have you here. We're also going to talk with Douglas Mitchell, the CEO of Argenta Consulting, an award-winning sales organization which earned over $35 million in commissions selling products via door-to-door, business-to-business, referrals, and social media. Doug, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, brother. It's an honor to be here.
You're very active and look good, if I may say so, when on all the social media platforms. I'm not trying to be weird, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's
No,
like
I've got an amazing team, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've got an amazing VA team that takes care of all that for me, and their job is to make me look good, and they're very good at it.
Isn't that cool? So that's a great point. I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but
Right.
business owners really need to look into this outsourcing model to help you be awesome, more awesome than you're at, and it's still affordable. So just don't lose sight of that, right? I mean, did you start right away, or was it something you got into later?
No, something I got into later. We started with just me and Ryan and the podcast, and him shooting things, and then us trying to chop them up, and then eventually we gave it to one of our operations VA, and she just took it from there. She downloaded CapCut, and it was over. Like, she just started tearing it up.
Yeah, I love it too, and it's like they're better at it than us.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%.
This younger generation is better at it than
Yes.
I am. So props to them. I love it too. All right. In studio with us today, as always, is Heather Boehme, a certified business coach that works with business owners to gain clarity in business and achieve their goals. Heather, welcome back to the show.
I'm always happy to be on here, and we're getting a lot of reach on here too.
We are, yeah. We do about 100,000 every 28 days or so on the cycle. So it's really social media is where it's at. I don't even track my podcast numbers. I think you do. You're doing really, really well on Spotify. What's your Spotify? How do they reach you there? Just out of curiosity. Do you remember?
Building Great Sales Teams.
Great.
Just the title of the show. Yeah, Building Great Sales Teams or Douglas Mitchell.
You're ranked
pop
there,
up
right? Top 5 or something, right?
Yeah, what did we get? Top 1% of business content on Spotify. That's what we
Congrats,
got last
man.
year,
That's
right?
fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. And I am your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Crükus Marketing Agency, a company that specializes in giving small businesses a competitive edge by hiring administrative and social media experts from the Philippines for as little as $7 an hour. We've become quite the experts at doing that. So if it's something you're interested in doing and leveraging, then please reach out to us. So, Jordan, you have been so you're in the CPA world. How did you get started with that? What drew you to want to get involved in numbers so much?
So I actually didn't really know what a CPA was originally. When I graduated high school, I went off to UT, and I was a natural sciences major. My mother wanted me to be a doctor. So, after failing chemistry twice and coming back home with my tail tucked between my legs, I worked for a former CPA who became a real estate developer, and he built pretty much a whole subdivision. It was my job to go and do the make-readies and mow the yards. And so he kind of took me under his wing and encouraged me to get my accounting degree. And so I go to the community college. I signed up for accounting. It's 7th grade algebra, which I could do, and I got super into it. I talked all my friends into changing their majors into accounting. And so eventually I graduated. I started working in public accounting in 2008, so July will be my 15th year.
Wow.
And when I passed the CPA exam, my old mentor came to the swearing-in ceremony, so that was quite an honor. But yeah, it's a great job. I love it. And if you know anybody that might be interested in accounting, we are desperate for more accountants. So
Right.
there's
Real
a lot
quick,
of opportunity.
You said you convinced all of your friends
Yeah.
to become accounting
I
majors?
caught that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, persuasive speaker.
We all just came, we went off. We all failed. We all came back. And, we're just growing up, and one of them was going to join the railroad, and I talked him out of that, so he got his accounting degree. Now he's an IRS agent, believe it or not.
He went to the dark side.
Yeah,
Man
He's a
on the
Sith.
inside.
Yeah.
He's a Sith,
I like
right?
that. I like that.
So
Not that there's anything wrong with that, okay, IRS people, but whatever.
yeah. They're just like everybody else, but
Yeah.
they're scarier. And then I have 2 of them became CPAs, and another one did not, but she's doing all right. So, but
What did she become?
I think a nursing home administrator.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
but she was kind of the boss of the group, so it made sense that she would go on to be a.
So do you love what you do? I mean, you love the numbers thing?
I do. It's a lot of fun. It's not boring. There's always something new and different. There's new challenges. There's a lot of problem solving. One of the things that a former partner had taught me was happiness is a zero balance. So if you've got both sides of the equation worked out, it zeroes out. And so when you hit zero, you're reconciled. It's just a great feeling.
My wife would not agree with that, though.
So-
She's like, happiness is like a $50,000 balance.
Positive balance.
Well, in terms
So
of
in accounting, I know exactly what he's talking about, and mine never reconciles. So,
Oh,
it would
you're
be
talking about.
I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine the emotion I would feel when it actually reconciled.
So that's what you're talking about. Is
your
reconciliation.
trial balance on it. Yeah, when
Okay.
your debits.
I didn't
credits
pass
equal-
accounting. So.
I have to pay someone thousands of dollars in order for it to reconcile. 100%.
Yeah.
Outsourcing that. So if accounting is fun, and I know like in coaching, one of my
It's fun.
It's
if
hard to
accounting
say.
is
Gotta be a
fun,
I
bumper
don't
sticker. I don't know.
understand
Accounting
that.
is fun.
to each their own. But I
Right.
know for me, I get like super excited when a client has that aha moment and they walk out of one of our sessions and they're like jazzed about their business again. What is that in accounting for you?
I mean, so in the CPA world, we are accountants. So in Texas, believe it or not, you are not an accountant unless you're a certified public accountant. So that word is exclusive for us, really. I have a license to practice accountancy, which sounds kind of nerdy, but there you go. We're licensed by a state
Sounds
board.
like a fake word.
It does.
Accountancy.
I don't throw it around often. I don't know why I'm doing it on a podcast now. But a piece of what we do is also tax. And so I work mostly with tax these days. But kind of the areas that we cover in public accounting would be tax, accounting, and then audit services. So when you hear the word audit, a lot of people think an IRS audit. And yeah, we deal with IRS audits and IRS notices. But another thing we do is financial statement auditing, and that's where we will go and audit or review a set of financials. We'll draft an opinion letter and let third-party users know whether or not they can rely on these financials. And that's pretty much what CPAs can do exclusively. So if you're not an accountant, if you're not a CPA and you're opining on financials, you're in trouble. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if you're let's say a small business owner or just a business owner, and you've got accounting and financials and books and a tax return, it might be good to choose a CPA to help you with that, because not only do we know the tax side of things, but we also know the accounting side. And if your accounting isn't right, if your financials are not right, and that's going into a tax return, then it's not going to be as good as it could be. So.
And you work pretty tight with bookkeepers.
Yep.
And who else? Like attorneys. What's your
Attorneys.
circle?
I work with attorneys, bookkeepers, financial planners, and it's great when you have a good network. And I do have a great network of people I can count on, bounce ideas off of. And so, if we have clients in common, they're getting a whole team working for them, and sometimes they don't even know it. It's just, hey, I've got this question. If we do this, what will happen? For bookkeeping, so that's more of the day-to-day task. And so I don't do a lot of that. I try not to do any of it, really. So if I find a bookkeeper that I can trust and I know that they know what they're doing, then I can rely on their work. I don't have to fix as much, and it's just a better situation. Same thing with attorneys. A lot of times people will just go and get a boilerplate LLC agreement, and they don't really know what kind of language is in it. And maybe they go and they take their LLC and make the S election, but they've got some language in there that could terminate that S election.
Yeah. I
So
remember
it's-
you giving that
yeah.
example.
Yep. So there's ways to fix that, by the way. But it's just good if you have your attorney who is looking out for you legally, talk to the CPA who's looking out for you tax-wise, and just make sure that, okay, this is a good document. It's going to be this way for legal purposes and this way for tax purposes.
Yeah,
So,
I'm in your network too, so it's like you're my CPA. The Texas Suits is my law firm for
And
that kind
Mod.
of stuff. I got Ahmad doing my bookkeeping, so I mean I'm pretty tied up there. And it's like I never expected myself to get to that point. To be honest, I'm more of a by the seat of my pants, let's figure it out kind of a thing. But because I've been exposed to really good networks and I've learned, it's like, woo, I might as well get some stuff in place now because I can before I get myself into hot water, and then it's a complete nightmare. So
Yeah, I
anyway,
feel like it's a lot cheaper to pay for a CPA up front than to get caught without a CPA on the back end.
Yep.
yeah, we had to kind of learn the hard way on that one because we had a CPA we'd been using for a few years before that, but it was just a complete nightmare, and we were just sick of it. And so introducing my wife to you and you taking such good care of our family on that kind of stuff and our business stuff, she's just been very happy. So excited about all that.
One of the things, when people are looking to switch, I'll ask, why are you switching from your current CPA? And a lot of it is just they aren't responsive enough. And I understand you grow and it's harder to take time, but I really try to be as accessible as possible. And most of the people I work for, they have my cell phone number, so I will get calls or texts. I had 2 this morning before 9 o'clock. One person lost their bookkeeper, and they have to make payroll. They don't know what to do, so I got someone on that. And then another one just had a question, and so they have a question, what happens if I do this? What's the consequences? I'll just call Jordan. Now they know. Now they can make their decision and go about their day.
Yeah.
Versus I emailed the CPA, and I haven't heard back. So
When I was a cop, it was, well, you want to go to jail or you want to go home? Now, that's a quote from training day. I was just testing you.
I always want to go home.
Oh, and so you are a CPA. You're very responsive. How often should a business owner be expecting to talk to their CPA on a yearly basis? What's a good way they can tell if their CPA is doing enough or not?
Yeah, how many times a day should we be calling?
Yeah, texting you.
Oh, gosh.
9 p.m. Sunday.
That's your hours, right? 9 p.m. to 11.
I've learned not to check work email on Sunday, so I can get a good night's sleep for
Right.
Monday. I think in my mind as often as you think is necessary, and so I think the old school traditional model would be, it's February, here's my shoebox of stuff, and then we find out what happened. But really, I think you're missing out on a lot of good information if you're not asking your CPA questions throughout the year. And so I just try to encourage people to do that. And it's exciting for me. You might be getting into something new, and then I get excited. And especially if I'm doing your work and if I'm putting my name on your work, then I kind of think I care about it a little bit more than you guys do even. So, I mean.
One of the things that stood out, too, when we had a conversation about that flow of process. So, like our previous CPA, they do something, and there was something that was missed, right? She didn't file for an extension. So then we had to then ask the IRS to forgive us that we missed that extension, which I guess you can do one time, which you told me about. But you guys have like checks and balances within your organization to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen. So I think that's a really, really good point with being a firm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the firm itself, Lowrey, Powell, Stevens, and Mangum, or LPSM for short, we're a medium-sized firm here in San Antonio, and I mean, if I don't know the answer to something, there's so many people I can ask and bounce ideas off of. Or if I have if I think this plan will work, I can go talk to a partner and find out, yeah, that'll work, or no, you didn't consider this. And so it's just an incredible amount of resources. So I'm very fortunate to be there. I've learned so much. I started with them in 2017 after moving to San Antonio. So, it just really depends. So much depends on who you go with, who's your point of contact, who's your CPA, and then what firm are they with.
Sure.
So
what really lights you up on the CPA world? I mean, what are you most excited about dealing with client-wise, like industry or focus?
If you could pick a dream client.
Yeah. Like, I think you like real estate, right? That's kind of your
yeah. There's
real estate
a lot of people are getting more and more into real estate, and so maybe someone has a good paying job and then they want to start getting into real estate investing, and they're thinking, oh, I'll have all these deductions, and yes, it's true, you'll have all these deductions, but then they'll run into the passive activity rules, and so those deductions might not be deductible when you think they are. And so a lot of it's just kind of walking them through the process, explaining it to them, and then they kind of understand what they're getting into, and so there's not any disappointments or surprises. It's they know, and if they have questions or if they forget, they can always reach out and we could talk about it some more. So just really, I guess, believe it or not, I like to talk. So if you get me on the phone and we get onto a topic, I'll.
Well, if you're passionate about it, right?
Yep. So.
Are you a Star Wars or a Trekkie?
I would probably have to say, if I had to pick one, Star Wars.
Really, that's good.
So why is that?
What about you, Doug?
What is that?
Star Wars all day.
Yeah. So I was just curious. Trekkies aren't they're kind of goofy now compared to the Star Wars clan. But what about you?
Oh, I mean, Star Wars, but I probably wouldn't put myself in either or category, to be honest. Like, I mean,
She's
I
too
grew
cool
up
for
on the
that.
4, 5, 6s, not the 1, 2, 3s, and so that's basically where I'm
I
at.
was just curious. Really, it was how you answered the question I was most interested in. If you're like, oh, dude, I'm all about Star Wars.
yeah,
man.
then you can
Did
really
you see
tell.
the new whatever coming out? That's what I was looking for. But no, I guess
Well,
not.
you know, Star Wars is more like it's kind of like a Western, like a space Western, it seems like, you know, but.
Yeah, the Mandalorian especially, right?
that-
All
yeah.
those, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's definitely straight out of Western style. I like it.
I fell
Like-
asleep during the Mandalorian, y'all.
Huh?
How dare you?
You did what?
I fell asleep. It was long. The movies are too long now.
That's just rude.
I have children. I can't.
That is rude.
You
I
just
don't
had
know.
a.
Yeah,
Was
I just had a kid, so I'm in the depths of sleep deprivation. But the
Yeah.
movies are too long now. Make them an hour and a half.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
such
all the
bad
superhero
kids, too.
movies are like 2.5
The
hours.
Avatar movie was 3 hours. I know this is not a movie podcast, but like 3 hours? We left halfway through.
You got to have them 90 minutes long. The kid movies are my favorite because it's 90 minutes. There's like a conflict, there's a climax, there's a resolution, it's a happy ending. The music's good. I get the adult jokes that they sneak in there.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
love
like-
that too.
It's like, that's what I watch, you know.
Dude, me and my kids watched Twins the other day. It's PG.
Oh, that's
It's
a
PG.
great one.
Yeah, like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
Danny
Yeah,
DeVito.
yeah.
We watched Twins yesterday
On
and
Netflix too,
He
right?
opens up a magazine and he like seeing a woman for the first time, but it shows it. I'm like, this is
Oh.
like 20 years ago PG. It's a little
Yes.
different.
HBO PG.
Smokey and the Bandit, also PG. I watched that
Yeah.
not long ago. I was like, okay, this is not
This is
PG.
not PG anymore.
This is like PG-13 at least.
Yeah, exactly.
There were some words in Back to the Future that my daughter picked up on.
Mhm.
She was like, and I was kind of like,
Yeah, and they
Like,
had
oh.
sex scenes and everything,
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, oh, dang, PG is different or was
Well,
different
have you
back then.
really listened to the lyrics of some of the 70s and 80s music that we
Oh,
thought
yeah.
was so cool? And we're like, oh,
yeah.
all right, shh your ears. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
I guess you can email me at jordanj@mysacpa.com would be the best way. I guess I shouldn't give my cell phone out on a
No,
podcast.
No,
probably
don't do
so.
that.
But what about your office? Do you guys have an office number? Or?
I would rather get emails. I mean, I'm of the generation where
All right.
please don't leave me a voicemail. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, and
All right.
everything in writing's nice too,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I could flag my Outlook and go back and get it, you know,
Yeah.
something like that. So
I even have my wife do that on. So if she wants me to do something, I'm like, just send me an email on that, so that way I'll miss it or won't miss it. Well, thanks, Jordan. What'd you think? First time doing a podcast? Wasn't that bad, right?
it really wasn't that bad. I
Yeah.
was certainly feeling anxious about it, but I'm glad I did it. So thanks
Cool.
for having me on.
Yeah, you bet.
You
See,
gotta
we
get
didn't
out of
get
your
into
comfort
anything
zone.
weird. Your license isn't going to get pulled from you because you said that you can write off, fake wigs,
The yacht.
whatever. I mean, I don't even know. That was funny on the last one. We talked to Marco a little bit about some of the TikTok. Do you ever watch like TikTok, social media, stuff like that, and have some crazy tax advice that's going on?
Yeah, my mom will send me TikToks with this and that, and I don't have TikTok because I guess I don't want to give all my data away apparently. So, but yeah, I've seen some of those, and people will see a TikTok video about some a tax topic, and it can lead to something, but please consult your tax professional
Yes.
about your TikTok viewing.
I think
thought
that's
could
a
write this up.
fun topic for everybody. What's the worst social media advice you've come across in your industry?
Oh, geez.
Could be a fun one.
It's the cop videos where people, because I'm a retired cop, right? So people getting pulled over by the police and how they act and stuff like that. I'm like, you're just asking for it. Why are you creating a situation you
Yeah.
don't need to create?
Yeah.
Just say
The cop's
yes,
just
sir,
trying
yes,
to do his
ma'am.
job. You know what I mean? Not always. It seems like sometimes there's some crazy ones out there. But anyway, so that's my thing is the getting pulled over by the cop videos, I just scroll right past those. I can't even watch them.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Doug?
I mean, I think misinformation among a lot of information is better than it used to be, which is newspapers and TV controlled all your information.
Well.
You know, so I appreciate it. At the same time, like I have common sense, you know, but not everybody has that. So so it is what it is, you know. But I'd rather have the information and me be able to discern, oh, that's BS, or be able to come to someone like Jordan here and him say, hey, that's BS. Okay, we're good now.
Get in trouble a couple times, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Is that phrase F around and find out?
Yeah.
What about you, Jordan?
Speaking of that phrase, did you ever see that video with the coach and the graph?
Yeah.
How much you want to find out?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen
haven't
that. I've
seen
seen
that.
the one about whether or not it's a
Hot girl, crazy girl.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a dude.
The
He's-
same guy, same premise.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The same premise. Okay.
Yeah.
Will you send that to me later?
I'll
The more,
send it to
the
you.
more you FA, the more you FO, basically.
Oh,
I
okay.
will. My kids have seen that video, which they probably shouldn't have. But, so now my wife and I are like, "How much you want to find out?"
Yeah.
I love TikTok, man. That's my social media vice, man.
Yeah.
I
do.
really
dabble with
enjoy it. I convinced all my friends to get it in 2020, and now I've curated it to the point where I really only see stuff that I'm interested in. So it's
You could
great.
learn a lot about a person scrolling their TikTok.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
So
really
mine
could.
is sustainability, like chickens, your own water,
Oh,
farming,
mine's that too.
cooking, you know, and then a random like pastor, you know, like Christian TikTok, I guess you could say, and then that's it. But when I first got on that thing, it was
Crazy.
TNA
wild.
everywhere.
Oh, my
you know what I
gosh,
mean?
yeah.
And so you have to curate it.
They
big time.
profiled because you're.
I'm a 37-year-old male.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know what he wants to look
Yeah,
at.
exactly.
And I'll get those too. I don't get them anymore, but when I first started, I'm like scrolling fast. If my wife hears something, like, you know. I said,
Oh, all
"Come
they
on."
need to hear is the first sound, and they know what it is
Oh, they
already. And
do.
I'm like, how do you know what it is?
Yeah. What's going on? All right, Doug. So I'm excited to have you on the show. I know you're very, very active out there in the podcast world and social media, and you're in sales, which I love that as well. So, official welcome. Next up on the show is Douglas Mitchell, the CEO of Argenta Consulting, an award-winning sales organization which earned over $35 million in commissions, selling products via door-to-door, business, referrals, and social media. So, Doug, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Mark.
So how'd you get involved in building sales teams? That's what you're about now. What's the start of that journey?
So I got fired from about like the 21st jobs I had.
Well, let's just start with honesty. Let's go there.
Yeah.
A nice, provoking line.
I had an
love it.
issue. I
Not
had
a
an
worker
issue with
bee.
I had an issue with authority, and I thought I could do everything better, which it turns out I could to a certain point, and then I reached my cap. Right, we all do. But anyways, I worked for another entrepreneur that had several businesses, and one of them was collectible gold sales, like a Boiler Room. Have you guys seen Boiler Room?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's basically when
Is
you
that
put
with Ben Affleck?
yes.
Okay, I've seen
Ben
pieces of
Affleck,
it
Vin
on
Diesel,
TikTok. Yeah.
I think Casey Affleck's in it too, a few other people. But anyways, it's a room where they basically get on the phones and sell high ticket products, right? And in this case, it was intrinsic value gold, like American Eagles that are certified, and these guys would do 7 to 10 million a year selling those type of coins. And so he was a serial entrepreneur. So one of his salespeople said, "Hey, I came from this other company. They do door-to-door sales for AT&T. It's easy to get a contract, and you can make millions of dollars doing it. I see companies do it all the time." And so he starts this company, dumps $200,000 into it, and that salesperson walks, takes off, and he's losing money hand over fist. And he's like, "Hey, Doug, I'm the marketing manager at the time, right? I'm placing full-page newspaper ads and you know, boxing up coins and running trailers, you know, to the industrial staffing side. He's got all these different businesses. So I'm learning by osmosis, basically. And he's like, "Hey, do you think you can manage this thing? It's just door-to-door sales. Like, you got that, right? You used to do that back in high school." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot. Why not?" You know? And so I got the company back to black as the GM. And then he's like, "All right, I'm going to try to sell it." Wasn't able to sell it. And I'm like, "Sell it to me." I was like, I'll pay exactly what you lost in it. You know, I figured out the business. I know that I can make, I think at the time I was making $30,000 a year. You know, I was like, I think I can make like $50,000 a year doing this. So why not? You know, I had that irresponsible risk adversity. I don't know how else to say it, you know?
It's like, you feel like you can probably do it.
Yeah. And then why not? I was 22 years old.
Yeah, when you're that young, go for it.
Yeah.
Do it
Don't
now.
have
You're not
much
going to do it when you're
to lose.
65.
So I went home to my wife and our 3-month-old daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, and I told her, hey, I'm going to start a business that this business owner that's been in business for 20 years couldn't figure out, but I'm going to figure it out, right?
I promise.
And it's lost $200,000, and I'm going to pay $200,000 for it, right? And I didn't have $200,000, obviously. I owner financed it from him, and she was like, "Don't do this." She looked at me straight in the face. She's like, "I just finally started getting a paycheck. You've got a steady paycheck. We've got a 3-month-old daughter. Don't do this." So I got up the next day, went in his office. I'm like, "All right, we're doing this."
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Looking back, it was a great decision, right? So the first thing I did is I knocked doors for 90 days. I figured out the business from the ground up. Before, I was just kind of managing it, you know, making sure the guys went out to the field, creating that accountability. Now I went out with them and started figuring out, okay, you know, what's an intro? What's a qualify? What's a presentation? How do we close? I started putting together scripts. I started hiring salespeople and putting systems in place, right? The first thing I had to put in place was the sales system, right? The second thing I had to put in place was the recruiting system. And the third thing I had to put in place was the management system. Once I had all three of those, then I was able to hire a manager full-time.
Why that flow, though? Why in that order? Why does that matter?
Money, teaching others how to make money, and then how to manage the people that make the money.
Okay, gotcha.
You know? And I've literally never said that before. It makes so much sense now that I'm saying it, though.
That's why I ask the questions.
Yeah.
Because I'm really good at it. And I'm very humble. So go ahead.
So once I got management in place and we started figuring out, okay, this is how an office should flow. This is how meetings should flow. You know, now we're talking business systems, right? This is how we should set up our opportunity structure. This is how we should present the opportunity to the new salespeople coming in. At the end of the day, we were a staffing and training company. You know, we weren't a sales company for AT&T. We were staffing and training. The sales were happening out in the field. By the time they happened, 20 different things happened in the office before that salesperson could get out in the field and pitch a customer, right? And so we ended up scaling from when I first took over the company, we had about 7 or 8 sales reps, all the way up to, at one point, 110 sales reps over 13 offices in about 4 different states. And so what we realized was we had a duplicatable system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just took off from there. And
How do you deal with turnover? It sounded like we were at a breaking point. That's why I wanted to. So it is. It's a huge factor, right?
Yeah.
It's like you put all this effort into training somebody up, and then 2 weeks later they're gone. I mean,
Gary Vee said it best. Nobody's good at hiring. Accept it, hire, and fire fast.
yeah. So hire fast, fire faster,
Yeah.
and promote faster or something like that, right?
Well, in sales, sure. I mean, obviously, if you're hiring a CPA, you want to hire slow, very slow. Make sure that they're qualified. Make sure that they fit the
Well, that's a good
personality
point.
profile. So when you look at sales in general, you want to hire for quality. You want to hire like a 6-figure salesperson, and everybody wants to do that, right? But sometimes it takes 9, $50K a year salespeople to get to that 6-figure salesperson, right? But if you legit have lead flow coming in, you have the opportunity. It's more of a conversion type system versus a hunting and gathering type system. Then you want to hire quality. You're going to use things like wisehire.com. Is great because they have built-in disc testing. And so what you do is you disc test your top salespeople and then maybe even your sales manager. And then you get a personality profile, and then you check that personality profile of everybody coming in as a candidate, and then you...
so you're job posting on wisehire.com.
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing? Okay.
Yeah, and then they have it's set up to where you can set up the disc test before they can apply. So they have to take the disc test. One, they can follow instructions and take a disc test, right?
Will
We're
they
winning.
actually take the disc test is a
Right.
huge test, I believe.
Exactly. You got to put hoops in place if you want higher quality people.
True.
So they take the disc test, they match the profile. Now they're a premium candidate. Now you're not just like, hey, here's an application or here's an interview. You're reaching out to them, you're having a conversation. Now you're selling them on the position because they're a premium candidate. And so there's that version, which is high quality, right? And then there's, all right, body count equals bank account. I need to get as many salespeople in here as possible. The sales script is very simple. If you can walk and chew gum, you can execute it. And so I'm going to do opportunity meetings now to where I pitch the opportunity to maybe 5 to 10 people. and maybe 2 or 3 are like, okay, I can do this. And
this
then,
is to hire salespeople,
right? And then 3 weeks later, you've got 1 left. And once you figure out that
I've
system,
heard this before. Yeah.
Once you figure out that system, then you scale it. You get more offices, you get more people, you get more managers. You know what I mean? You just scale it from there. That's door-to-door sales, though. As you move up in the rank in terms of difficulty of sale, like you go into B2B, now you want the higher quality reps. It just depends on your business.
So
yeah, go ahead.
you started in the door-to-door space. You bought the company. How did you get exposure from door-to-door to B2B to social media? How did that flow go?
So the campaign, what happens is when you have a company like AT&T realize, oh, you're good at this, then they want you to do other products and other campaigns, right? So the next one they wanted us to do was B2B, right? So now we're knocking on businesses' doors instead of residential doors, right? And the next one, they launched a security campaign, right? So they had a Digital Life. And so now we're sending you leads and you're going in and closing the customers, So kind of grew into other avenues because my client needed those other avenues. I also did sales for Vivint. We opened up our own solar company. We did commercial energy sales. We did residential energy. We did all different kinds of stuff. We wanted to diversify our portfolio so we could hire a lot of different types of people, as well as create different opportunity structures, right? Now, social media came up when I joined a mastermind called Apex 2 years ago. It's been a little over 2 years now, right? Yeah, maybe about 2.5 years ago. And I learned things in there that helped me recruit those higher quality salespeople or those key players, those tens, I guess you could say. And the idea behind it was, 1, be transparent, 2, document everything, and then 3, give value. And if you do that, you'll get an attraction that happens in terms of recruiting, that happens in terms of sales, and that happens in terms of the people that you do life with and friendships, And it creates this, this atmosphere or this circle of influence, that you all kind of feed each other, to where you're not scrolling your social media and it's all junk and politics and crap that's controversial. It's all positive things, lifting each other up, business ideas and techniques and websites that are working really well, or AI, whatever the latest trend is that's helping business owners. That's what your feed is full of, And so that's kind of how I got into the social media piece. I learned a concept called building your machine, which there's a few different ideas behind it. But the first one is, like I said, document everything, right? Post at least once a day. We post, per medium, probably 3 to 4 times a day. That's not including stories, right? One of those posts are mine, or 2, and then the rest are podcast clips, consulting clips. It's a lot of video now, exactly what you and your team does. And, that's a big part of it. A lot of customers hear about you, and then they don't make a decision on your product, and then they never hear about you again. But if you're constantly posting on social media and you've connected with them there, then they're going to see your product every day. You'll be top of mind. And then when they do finally decide they have that big problem that comes up because they don't have your service, guess who they're going to call? So that's the general concept of it. But you can be a lot more strategic with it too. And so if I decide, hey, I want to go after real estate investors, and I'm a CPA and I know that I can help them with their real estate investments and make sure they don't get in trouble with their passive activity, then I can network first, right? I can go to the things that you guys go to locally here, or national events. I can network first, and anytime I get a real estate investor, I'll connect with them on social media. And then I'll put them into what I call my top 25. And those top 25 are people that I make a intentional effort on a weekly, bi-weekly, 3 or 4 times a week. If you have one of Marc's VAs, you can do it every day.
Exactly what I do.
I target them, and I like all their posts.
Yep.
I comment on their posts, and I engage with their content. And guess what happens when you do that?
They're connected to you. You're connected to them. Facebook sees you as a couple. We'll just call it a couple.
Yeah, and then it gives you right back to them.
Yep.
Now, do you think they're going to do business with the CPA that specializes in real estate investing that they saw at a conference and never heard from again, or the one that they exchange social media handles and they see every day on their social media? and is giving them tips and tricks, giving them value on how they can maximize their depreciation.
Yeah, value, personality. This is who I am. This is I call it relevance, right? Because you're staying relevant in front of your ideal client. It's not rocket science, right?
Yeah.
And when you can, that's why outsourcing is such a huge leverage in that, because I can stay in front of them almost constantly. I'm working on a LinkedIn project that I think is going to be amazing. But
and
I'm doing
LinkedIn is one of the most underutilized when it comes to this. So I think it's going to be fantastic. Whatever you're doing with that, if it's around this concept, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the thing too with social media is there's a lot of people out there. They're the silent scrollers, right? They don't really do a lot on social media, and those people don't really register how much influence social media actually has on them on like a cognizant, recognized level. They do get influenced by it, but they don't think they do because they're not big on social media. But just being that person that you see, I feel like I know some people just because I see them all the time on TikTok or Facebook, and I don't know them except on social media, and they share enough of themselves that I feel like I've got a personal connection with them. And then you meet them in person, you're like, oh, this person doesn't know me at all. But it's a huge sales tool. So you have given a lot of value just based on your story, showing all the different ways that you can generate business, systematize sales, new tips and tricks. If there's one thing that someone listening who is like, oh gosh, I need to up my sales game, I need to bring in more revenue, could concentrate on in their business to do, what would you advise them to start with?
Reps. You need more reps. Too many people are looking for the NLPQ fix for their sales process, or to even hire the consultant, and bring them in and fix their process. But at the end of the day, conviction comes from experience, and you need more reps.
So
And by
quantity
reps, you
over
mean
quality.
sales reps that are out there actually
Well,
talking to people, trying to sell your service.
And look, everybody's going to pitch you advertising, just like they did our man Roman. It's
Ram.
Ram. Everybody's going to pitch you that, but at the end of the day, you can advertise all you want. But once that client comes in, if they have any doubt about wanting to use their service, you're gonna fumble that ball. You know what I'm saying? And so don't be afraid of cold leads. Don't be afraid of networking. Don't be afraid of building relationships where people come in from a referral source, which is a lot warmer than a paid ad.
Oh, big
right?
time.
Because if you haven't closed at least 100 customer, and depending on your ticket price, right? But if you haven't at least closed 100 customers, you need to do that before you go and spend money on ads. Because you need the reps, you need the experience, you need to have 100 conversations and know exactly what the pain points of your client are, how your service provides the solution, and then why they're going to buy today. Not tomorrow, not the next day, not next week, because that gets exhausting to keep up with, right? So why they're going to buy today. Once you go through 100 of them, and let's just say you close 10 to 15, you're going to be lethal when those ads come in, because they're actually going to be interested in your product at that point. You know what I mean? And you'll have such a better advantage.
So I know by the time this is released, you've got an event coming up on Friday that I'm excited about being there, and just I think being in your circle a little bit is I want to pay attention to that, because you're good at it. You've got a good vibe about it. You're not hype. You're just this is just what it is.
Yeah.
So Doug, I appreciate you coming in. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that, and what's your social media that they should be following?
Yeah, txbizdad.com. So that's txbizdad.com. And that has all my social media handles on it and everything. But if you want to go straight to social media, everything is at txbizdad.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Great conversation. All right, as we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast on all of our usual podcast platforms, or go to our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for us. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.